ask a question.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Or at least two people.
My mom and my son. I don't want to know that I'm allergic to it.
I can
Yes.
do it.
You're good, AJ.
So you always reach for me. No gavel for Suzanne, so let's do gavel. A big discussion with Zach.
Yeah, wait.
I didn't have that before. I didn't have that before. The test score. But it should be showing up now.
Are you ready? All right, ready?
Ready? You can click on this as test.
Well, hello. I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's Granville Exempted Village School District's Board of Education meeting. This is my first meeting, so for everybody that is paying close attention, welcome. I'd like to all invite you to do the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Brittany, will you take the roll, please?
Mr. Wolf is absent. Ms. Shaw?
Here.
Ms. Deeds? Here. Mr. Cronk?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Can I have an approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second?
Do you take a roll?
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Cronk?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Okay, staff reports.
Did I log out?
Yeah, they logged out.
Sorry.
It's okay. All right, so usually we have commendations, but this meeting is a little bit earlier in the month, and we still have a lot of our athletic teams still competing. So hopefully we'll get back into the commendations role next meeting. So policy update. A lot of these policies that we're talking about today were byproducts of some of the work that the General Assembly did during the summer months. So I will be referencing some of the bills that were passed and why they are now being updated in the first reading. So again, this is the first reading. I don't need that. Perfect. Thank you, Glenn. You're welcome. All right. So we have a couple of brand new policies that are byproducts of some recent legislation. Then we have some revised policies, and then we have a couple of policies that will be recommended for rescinding. So political commitments. Interesting language, but it was really a byproduct of House Bill 214, which said that we cannot require or solicit an employee to affirmatively ascribe to any particular ideology, okay, which we don't anyway. But there were a couple of things that were related to requiring people to align with specific beliefs, affiliations, ideals, or principles. So we are not able to do that moving forward. There are 4 areas that it said we cannot do. But it still maintains the teachers' academic freedom and their ability to, author their pedagogical approach within their classroom. Okay, so it's really more just from an HR perspective, not saying that you have to align with X or Y political belief. Okay. Not much of an issue, not much of a change of practice. So the next policy is the acknowledgement of receipt of the Auditor of State's fraud reporting system information, and it's really just documenting that all the people that are required to do the fraud training have completed that and that we record that, including board members. So you all now have had that obligation requirement. The next item is, which is a new policy as well, is religious expression days. This now codifies that students in grades kindergarten through 12th will be excused for up to 3 religious expression days per school year for reasons of faith or religious or spiritual belief systems. And you'll see that there are a couple of other tangential policies that will be modified because of the religious expression law that was passed. And that this is a required policy and was also a part of House Bill 214. And then our, we also have to designate a person to kind of report this out, and that is me. So that will be religious expression days. Kind of runs counter to House Bill 410 that we passed 5 years ago requiring attendance, but hey,
But they won't count against us, right?
we'll count against us.
And
Yeah.
from a practical perspective in the classroom, this is something that's important, and they just get some more time.
Yep,
So
and
forth.
we've always used common sense. Next is revision of minutes. This is, it used to be that the minutes had to be in the succeeding meeting of the board. Now it's the next regular meeting of the Board of Education, which you will see we always adopt our minutes every month. Next item, annual tax budget and appropriations measure and budget modification authority budget. And this is really Brittany's wheelhouse, but we're removing one paragraph of that policy, and the remainder of the policy will be intact. Brittany, anything else?
No, it's just a section that honestly probably shouldn't have been in there in the first place in reference to submitting the appropriations to the state superintendent, which is not a requirement. So I'm not sure exactly how that got in there in the first place. So just aligning with what our practice actually is.
The next item is bidding requirements. They struck the first line of our current policy and restated it. Contracts to build, repair, enlarge, improve, or demolish any school building that exceed the threshold amount set in state law are required to go through the bidding process. And then we have the practice of $25,000 as we discussed previously. So again, just an update and modification. Deposit of public funds is impacted because they now are requiring that the district will not charge different prices for tickets based on adult and, or there will be a difference between adult and student charge. So, and we still have the cash requirement, but that is the policy related to deposit of public funds. First aid is really related to AEDs, and we kind of led the charge on AEDs being in buildings. If you remember, almost 10 years ago, we went through that process of being designated heart safe. And so the AED I'm pointing at right now on the wall is part of that process. So we really already complied with the intent of the law and this board policy. Protection for reporting safety and fraud violations. Again, it's the expansion of the fraud requirements for all levels of the organization and some of the requirements, including the new fraud training. Fraud reporting is also, again, aligning with all the previously stated requirements related to fraud. Oh, computer online services. So typically, when you get a lot of green, that's new language. So I'm going to try and be nice, and the media is not in here, so that's okay, but it is online. Senate Bill 29 was passed and has a ton of unintended consequences. I think the intent of the legislative body was to ensure that data privacy was stored for software programs that we utilize for the educational purpose, and that we get to maintain those records, and those records cannot be utilized for other purposes. Unfortunately, and then there was also a provision, so there was the kind of contract provisions of who we enter into contract and what requirements there are, and then there was other language around tracking and monitoring of student devices. Unfortunately, they went too far. What they were really trying to do is, if you are tracking or monitoring for a specific threat to safety or harm to student, that you notify parents within 72 hours, which we would typically do no matter what. Unfortunately, the way that they wrote it is every time a teacher interacts with a student's educational record through a technology means, meaning human contact through a technology mean, you have to report that to the parents. So let me play this out. We use Schoology, right? Schoology is a software program. Every time a teacher looks at a student's submitted activity, that would be a reporting requirement. And yes, every single thing that we do would require us to communicate with parents. Parents don't want what this bill says. The General Assembly doesn't want what this bill says. It goes into effect October 24th. So there's going to be a gap between the time that they fix it and right now, and we're still trying to figure out how we're going to navigate that, because it's literally impossible to comply with the law and actually educate children. So we're kind of threading that needle as far as making sure parents understand the intent of what was trying to be achieved and the gap in the actual unintended consequence. So,
Could you use any cover from us, or is there anything we can do to give you the authority to
No.
do what's appropriate there in the interim?
I think, so we have a meeting on Friday with all of our elected officials in Lincoln County. We've already brought this issue up. They understand the issue. I don't think it's going to be a big issue, because if I complied with this law, within the first day, every parent would unsubscribe. They would say, I'm done, I'm out, because I just got 20 emails in the first day, or 50. So they don't want that. But we're working through that process of trying to navigate the legislative process, but also be, compliant with what the provisions intent is. So, hiring of professional staff is related to, and where am I at? Okay. Did that go?
Yeah, you're on the
Yeah,
next
excellent.
slide.
Okay, professional staff hiring. This is really related to the process for retire rehires. So it also replaces the state board in place of ODE, because now the state board does all licensure and or educator misconduct. But really the lion's share is the public notice for any retire rehire type process that the board is entertaining. Staff support and recruitment and posting and vacancies. And I should also reference that OSBA sent a list of about 50 policies that there's a resolution as a first action item to kind of address the state board now being addressed versus ODE. Remember, there were a whole bunch of policies that we did ODE to ODEW. Now we're doing ODE to State Board of Ed. So, but the recruitment and posting and hiring is also related to retire, rehire, and the State Board of Education. School year calendar. The only change is the public hearing on the school calendar may be separate or an individual hearing or part of another public or board meeting. As you know, we have it on the agenda today. We'll also have it on the agenda next time for approval. But this is that process we've been doing for years. So, health education moves away from the language of venereal disease to sexually transmitted infections. That is true for health education and family life education and sex education. It's changing that language. Co-curricular and extracurricular activities is really related to two things. One, religious expression days, and making sure that those days don't count against a student that wants to participate in athletics. And then the second piece is related to a new provision of law that allows a student potentially transfer to another student or school district if they're being bullied or harassed. So that language is now included into that language. Same is true for interscholastic athletics. The same is true. Admission of students from non-chartered or home education. They eliminated a lot of language that was permissive. Now it's just that students seeking admissions into the school district have been enrolled or are receiving home and may be required to take competency examinations. And then we do not have valedictorian or salutatorian, so that optional language does not apply, but homeschool students can be included in the calculation of the top 10%. Not done yet. That must have been a ghost.
How would a homeschool student be included in a percentage of correction?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes. So if they have a certain number of credits within the school. So I think we require, what, 12 credits?
12 credits from us out of the 21 that's required.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they're partially.
They're partial,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Partially, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for that clarification. Student absences and excuses, again, religious expression. Truancy, religious expression. Child abuse and mandatory training includes in AEB training, which we already do. Employment of students is really a byproduct of House Bill 168, which basically talks about age and the schooling certificates for work permits and in-school employment and our requirements. And then, I believe, the next items are ones that need to be rescinded. So the policy that was previously in place for fraud, you have the whistleblower, 2 protections. Those will be rescinded and replaced. Professional staff termination and employment, again, is rescinded and replaced with language that includes the State Board of Education. And then bus driver examination and training has been replaced with bus safety, which is a different policy in totality, and this is no longer a viable policy. So, long list, but at least a general synopsis of the required policies. Any questions?
No?
Okay, next meeting, you will have the ability to second read and approve. Brittany, do you need me to do anything with this, or are you gonna swipe it?
Can you just, one more time, I'm sorry, can you tell us, what is the policy around computer use and technology that is complicated?
Senate Bill 29.
Yeah, but what was the policy?
Oh,
That one you'll probably give us an update on before next meeting, right?
yes,
Okay.
correct.
Sorry, just the name of it. It's okay if you don't have it, I mean, I know you have it there, so,
Computer and online services,
okay.
it's code EDE.
Thank you.
We think all those mandatory emails come from the senators.
Yeah. That would be brilliant. Yeah. Right?
Right? Okay, we'll jump into the September financial report. First, looking at our cash balance for the month of September compared to last year. We're about 2.4 million above where we were last September and continuing to grow that cash balance. That's consistent with the forecast in May and also the one that we're working on for next month for the November filing. For revenue, Local taxes, I just wanted to make a note here. All of these categories are very much in alignment with prior year. Local tax, there was a correction by the county auditor's office that came through this month. The communication came through on that. That's why you're seeing an amount in the current year for local taxes that's not there last year. Otherwise, state revenue and all the revenue very close to where we were last year at this time. Year to date, the same items that we've talked about previously, the income tax and property tax being above where we were last year is driving that local tax line. And then all other revenue, that includes just variations depending on timing and the advance payments at the end of the year and how much those were, so. On the expenditure side, salary and benefits are up over prior year. That's base salary increases and steps. And then purchase service is actually down over the previous year. For the month of September, we received a refund related to a student who is no longer requiring services the rest of this year, so that was refunded to us. And then all other expenses prior year included the purchase of bus radios, so that's a one-time non-recurring payment in the prior year. Then looking at expenditures year to date, after accounting for the capital projects fund transfer, which we haven't had yet this year, expenditures are up a little over $800,000 compared to the prior year. That's largely salary and benefits, purchase service related to special education, as we've discussed previously. And then one of the action items on this agenda is related to the first of likely 3 capital projects transfers that we'll have. So those are just coming later in the year than they were last year.
Relative real quick to the purchase service for a student that no longer requires services, is that a significant expense?
Yes, it's almost a whole year's worth of tuition. So like
External tuition.
$60,000, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Capital Projects Fund, we are still closing out the air handler and boiler rooftop project at the high school, middle school. So that's our last remaining project that we have funded currently before we add the new one, which we'll be approving later in the agenda. And then just our cash reconciliation. Unless there are any additional questions or comments. It's a short one this month. Okay, thank you.
I guess I can keep going because I have a feeling I know the answer to number 7 here, public comments. So this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation at this point. If you'd like to participate, please feel free to come to the podium and speak for up to 3 minutes. Seeing as there is none, I think we can move along. So board discussion. We don't have anything specific on the agenda. If anyone has updates from meetings related to the schools that you've gone to, not a really big update, but I know the Granville Education Foundation had an amazing homecoming event. It was really well attended.
Did anybody have a chance to go to that? I'm sorry, we were out of town for the Sunday event, things like that, but I heard it was great, although there was a little bit of rain.
First rain in 60 days.
Mhm.
Happens on the night of the homecoming
Yeah.
event.
No wildfire because of the burn ban. So, yeah, but we got some rain.
But the band was out?
Yeah.
Band was out, parade was excellent. Police and fire as always did a great job escorting, keeping our students safe. And really enjoyed by the community, just from the positive feedback I received. I think next year will be even bigger.
A fair number of alumni there as well? Or mostly?
The alumni events were canceled for the weekend, but there were still
Yeah.
local alumni that were there, yes.
Great. Yeah, that's really cool that GDF is stepping up in that way. And thanks a lot to them for bringing that back together. It's been a neat tradition in the past, and it's good to see good energy there, so.
Absolutely. Our finance committee meets at the end of the month on Monday the 28th. So if there are folks interested in that. I know we have appointed members that are part of that group, but we'll report back after that next meeting, but Brittany always does a wonderful job monthly of updating our finances.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a trigger to me to post that on our website and get that out on the district calendar in case anybody's not on that list that goes out to.
And just as an update on the facility master plan, we've had one meeting with all the administration. We had a Zoom meeting that included 712 and K6, so we had an all-staff meeting already. And then Wednesday, we have another administrative meeting with Fanning and Howie. And then we start the student focus groups and staff focus groups. And then start utilizing meetings with the strategic planning task force. And then shortly after that, we start the community engagement process. So that process continues to unfold, and if anybody's interested in participating, just send me an email, but look for it in district communications.
When will the broader community meetings be held?
I would say it's likely going to be January, February, maybe even into March. But really, we want to have some type of recommendations or thought process to the board by May for your consideration. And again, the ultimate outcome of the strategic planning task force is to make sure everyone understands what's happening around us right now and what our reaction will be when the growth occurs. And that's the big question mark, is when. But going through the process of making sure that we're on the same page as far as what we're going to do once that growth occurs, and making sure that the entire community understands that.
So the format of those meetings is kind of a bit of a survey and a discussion where basically our consultant in the school district is looking for input from parents
Correct.
about what they think about configuration and services and those kinds of things.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. I think that's going to be a super healthy process, and we really do need to go through it now. And it's good that we're doing it methodically and ahead of time, right? Because the worst case is you're caught behind and you don't have any place to put kids, and you've got problems with enrollment, and you've got building issues to deal with. So I think it's great we can get ahead of that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right.
Action agenda.
Thank you, that's what I said.
Yep. Yes. 9.01 is the previous mentioned resolution from OSBA.
So moved.
Okay, so this is the authorization and directing OSBA to make all the recommended policy changes in light of transitioning from ODE to the State Board of Education.
Any questions? Take a roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Okay, item 9.02 is an approval of a resolution, an agreement with Train USA US Incorporated for the high school HVAC replacement project.
Second.
And this will be actually, there's another item in Brittany's section that would require the capital transfer for this project. It's about $616,000, and it's to replace the air handler rooftop units 1 and 5 at the high school.
Wow, inflation.
Yeah, thanks.
Any questions? Take a roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Okay. Item 9.03 is the approval of a graduate.
So moved.
Second.
And this is a resident in our school district that has completed the requirements for graduation.
Questions? Take a roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Thank you. First reading of the 25-26 district calendar. I don't really know that we need to approve this, but it's the first reading, so you can still just go through the motions. But,
So moved.
and Mr. Bernath, as well as a committee of the GE PTA get together and talk about and co-create the calendar for the year. There is a provision in the collective bargaining agreement that solidifies that process. And then we also have requirements to align with CTEC and other ed organizations. So this is our first reading.
So now it's public as well.
It is
So
public.
people want to see it, they can have a look at it. And then we generally align spring break around CTEC, is that kind of?
We try
Right.
to the best of our ability.
Okay.
There have been times where we've not been aligned, but we still are required to provide transportation when that occurs.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a little bit of a special request, so we find a way to publish a calendar electronically. And for some reason, maybe it's just me, I can get a calendar for Silgram and for marching band and for everyone in schools, but I can't get a district calendar to show up on my devices automatically. And it would be great if I didn't have to go to the PDF and import the spring break thing and so forth. So maybe I'll just work individually along those lines, or maybe I'll find a way that we get.
I have.
Do you?
Yeah,
Is it?
it's available on the district
What's
website.
it called?
It's just an iCal within the same website. Yeah.
Okay, well, you can help me then. You're my
Okay.
IT. No, mind you, John.
Glenn and but that is available.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, okay. Any questions? Teacher roll, please.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Okay, 9.05 is the authorization to issue RFP for electrical services.
So moved.
Second?
Brittany, do you want to?
Yeah, so for electric and gas service, we go through the Meta Consortium for purchasing. They have an individual whose entire function is focused on this, so they handle the RFP and then the associated agreement with the provider.
Any questions?
Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda, item 10.01A through C5.
So moved.
Anybody second?
Second?
Okay, there is one amendment to the adoption of the minutes for the September meeting that was noted with Brittany, so we will make that change. We have a couple of other clerical cleanups on the adoptions of minutes. We have two great donations, one $8,000 media equipment for Media in the Middle from Chris Eccles, and then we also have a donation of 2012 Jeep Compass to Craig Wenning's industrial tech class for Mike Nicholson. So thank you for those donations. We have several supplementals, a couple of resignations with recognition and appreciation of service, and then the other standard items of employment. We have a couple of new bus drivers. But we are-
John is getting another route. He's not new, he's a current.
Correct.
Bus 20. He's the best.
Yes. Sure you.
Bus 36 takes issues with that.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Any questions?
What drove the adoption of the minutes changes? There were several different historical minutes that were revised.
Yeah, so in a review of the minutes, there were some clerical issues that were identified. So one was like a PM instead of AM,
Okay.
a carryover of who motioned and seconded from the previous month didn't get changed when we copy and pasted, and then an executive session reason was approved in the agenda and stated verbally, but was not reflected in the minutes.
Okay, great, appreciate you keeping those up to date.
Any other questions?
Take the roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 11.01, approval of the September 2024 financial report. So moved.
Second?
Any additional questions or comments? Ms. Deeds? Aye. Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Item 11.02, approval of the then and now resolution. So moved.
Second?
budgeted. The secure student pickup is handled by their individual building budgets. So this was just for one that the PO was not in place at the time that we received the invoice, but it is an annual payment and it's budgeted.
Any questions? Take a roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Item 11.03, approval of the fund transfer.
So moved.
Second.
Do we anticipate how long that project will take? Similar to what we see with this current one that we're wrapping up?
Yeah, the majority of the work will actually take place starting in May, and go
Okay.
in through the
Summer.
summer months. Yeah, thank you. So, but getting on their schedule now is critical.
Yeah, this is basically the first step to allow us to have a PO in place so that we can sign a contract, et cetera. So this is the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
step.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to then and now
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or know what these will cost
Yeah.
in June.
Yeah.
Right, so-
Exactly, yep.
And training's done work for us if you want
Yeah.
us a little more.
Yeah.
Okay, so good recommendations.
Anything else? Take a vote,
Ms.
please.
Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye. Do I have a motion, please?
Second.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Crum?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Shaw?
Aye.
Michelle, you run
What?
it.